So, Sam's. I absolutely hate this place. Like, I genuinely think this is where dreams go to die. But for context, I've been working at Sam's for 4 months as a curbside associate, which is basically you just go and shop for people. But I recently just put in my 2 weeks because I realized I mentally cannot do this job anymore. Now I see yourself asking, why can't you do a job that is basically just being a glorified parent and shopping for lazy people that cannot do it themselves? You ask. Well, if you haven't already clicked off the video, let me go into my torture and despair of my 4 months at Sam's. Well, so the way I got into this job was from a friend's recommendation, which this friend, I trust pretty well. And let me tell you that this friend, I will never, ever in my life trust him the same with job recommendations again. Before I went into Sam's, by the way, I was a lifeguard. And I was thinking, I need a little bit more dough in my pockets. And this job is how I get that. So my friend, by the way, was telling me that this job is pretty laid back. And it's not really that hard, as long as you just do as you're told. Unfortunately, I believed this friend, and I went in with rose-tinted glasses into the world of retail. So, for some reason, management decided that in order for us to be the most efficient workers we could possibly be, that it'd be smart to give us quite literally the worst tools possible and tell us to go fuck ourselves. So basically, when you work curbside, you are on a constant timer if you are outside dispensing to the lazy people who don't want to come in and just get their own stuff. You're on a timer, right? So you better pick up the pace, because if you don't, your ass is getting fired or written up for not being an Elon Musk Tesla robot. Because apparently, all the videos of them telling you belong there is basically them telling you that you belong there as their slave. And if you don't do what they want you to do, then they're frying your ass on a grill. So what are the worst tools possible, you are wondering? Well, so imagine this. You need to go shopping, right? So, what would you use? The normal working shopping cart with 4 wheels? Or, on the other hand, use a dilapidated shopping cart with no wheels, fully rusted, and will crumble if you touch it. So obviously, you're probably going with option 1, right? Because that makes sense. Any normal human would go with option 1. But, Sam's management, they look at this and they go, let's go with option 2. Because we need our slaves, our workers, to suffer. So they would give us these specific blue carts in our department. And these carts were probably the worst fucking thing ever. Literally imagine this. Trying to move just multiple large items across a store on this skinny, slim-ass cart that will and has fallen over with a slight breeze. And this is what you're given to do your job of picking for these people and being on a time limit. And stuff will constantly fall off these shitty-ass carts because for some reason, we have thousands of people who come into our store, but we can't even do a little bit of maintenance on the tools we use for the customers. But that's not even the worst part. So the worst part is that you would go on these things called pick walks, where you have to get stuff, right? You have to get stuff because, you go and shop for people, right? Well, you have 3 categories. You have large, you have ambient, and you have frozen. Well, so ambient and frozen, they really aren't that bad. Not to say they're good. They're still like the spawn of Satan. But large, that right there would get any Mormon, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Catholic, atheist, or Buddhist quaking in their fucking boots like Satan himself stuck a wet finger up their asshole. Because large is like super ultra death Satan. See, remember what I said about those shitty ass carts that we were given? So those carts cannot hold shit. And you're being told to move like 8 fucking waters, 10 toilet papers, and 10 towels, and 2 heavy ass gallon waters. Because, why not? And well, you can't. Because, again, you were given a fucking TikTok shop spoon to build a fucking cathedral. But let me tell you what happens when you get behind. Management thinks to themselves, how could they possibly get behind? And you think this is an over exaggeration, but it's not. It really isn't. So, I actually got brought into the office with my friend at different times. And it was a shift lead that brought me in. And this guy's name, obviously I won't disclose, but genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, fuck this guy. So what I heard from other people is our department was all going to be written up because obviously we were not being efficient enough because, we were given the best tools possible. So I get brought into the office to get told that I played too much with my friend, and this same friend who sometimes I go entire shifts without seeing because I decided, that day, that very day, I was gonna say hi to him when I saw him. When our shift lead just happened to be walking around the store with his dick in his hand instead of actually doing something helpful. But the shift lead goes on to say that there's no reason we should barely be ahead. No reason we should barely be ahead. And, we shouldn't be close at all to being behind, despite the shitty tools that they give us. There's multiple reasons, the abundant face fuck of people who happen to get there at the butt crack of fucking dawn to get into the store right as we open to block every living organism who dares to cross their path. Or, the fact that people who get hired there don't even get properly trained because, everyone has their heads up their ass. But, that's my bad. Because I should have learned how to fucking fly or, phase through solid fucking objects themselves to get past the people, But then I get told there, but, obviously after all of that, this shift lead, after talking to me about how we should not barely be ahead, we shouldn't barely be ahead because of all those reasons, he should tell me that I should be moving with a purpose. I should be moving with a purpose like I don't come in there and work my hardest every shift. Because if I don't, I'll be fucking deep faked by Sam's, looking at each and every fucking move to their cameras that they track us through. Like, genuinely, I have no idea how the fuck that store is still running with all that stupid management there. Because genuinely, all the management is so stupid. Because, like, they fired half of our curbside department before our workload was even gone. Because I guess they just, fucking hate things working efficiently, I guess. We're starting with another so. So, I actually recently got left on, like, I think it was a Sunday by myself. But, I didn't really get left there. But basically, at the point that it was at, I should have just been left out for the Wolves. I was left with 3 other coworkers, which is half the department. And if you do the math, that's 6 people who were working. And then half of them just got to leave for some reason. And, that day, we just happened to be super behind. But also, one of those 3 workers, who I will not say their name because I like talking to them, but fucking hate his work ethic because he just loves fucking disappearing. He just loves disappearing like he's got to go get milk for his kid. But, for some insight, we'll give a time limit or, kind of like a time deadline where we basically have to get these pics or, for simpler terms, people's stuff before this deadline. And, so that day, half the department left when we were an hour behind, which, doesn't sound bad. But you also have to understand that every pick is 30 items. 30 items which can either be 30 waters or just 30 things that for some reason the floor people didn't put in the right place in the system. So, the day that I got left was pretty bad. The line of cars started piling up as people who got like 5 fucking things and could have just walked in themselves had to wait an hour before they even saw me come out with their stuff. And also, sometimes you get a break of, about 2 hours into your shift of about 15 minutes. Then you're 30 after another 2, and then your last 15 after another 2. But that's sometimes, okay? That's sometimes. And that day was not sometimes. I was hauling ass and waters and a bunch of heavy shit from 12 to 6. And that day, honestly, I wasn't really having it after half the department left as I hadn't had any breaks till then and was suffering. But, Sam's does not give a fuck about their workers. So fuck me, I guess. But really, what was my breaking point was when I took it out to a delivery driver, And this lady, oh my god. She was a real piece of work. Let me tell you, she had a shitbox car that smelled like weed, and she was fucking loud and obnoxious to all hell. And so this lady decided that as a delivery driver, which you can probably tell from the names, from oh my god, from the name, they deliver stuff to people, you know, and she decided that that day she wasn't gonna do her fucking job, and she decided that I should lift stuff into her car with 16 other people like in a line, and it's just me delivering to these 16 people. So imagine trying to like haul 30 waters on a shitty ass cart to 16 people, right? But I was just like, no, I'm not gonna lift your stuff because that's your job. And what she probably didn't notice because she was a waste of oxygen is that there were, other people trying to get their singular bag of chips. So, I just walk inside and this lady decides to follow me inside through the employee only door and just start making so much noise. I don't even know what she was saying because I was so stressed and she was just dude, oh my god. She was talking to her friend on the fucking phone saying I didn't want to do my job when I was literally sitting there like all right, hold on. For like just for like the fucking scoreboard is that she wasn't doing her job either. She was in there like yelling at me for no reason on the phone with her friend. And this lady screams for a manager. The extra person gets the manager, and we didn't have a manager on that shift, I think, or wherever the manager was. I don't know, but it was a shift lead that got brought over from another department. And the shift lead, she's a really sweet girl. She's a really sweet lady. I don't know. I think she's around my age, so I'm gonna say like she's a really sweet like person because so this lady, she's screaming for like, what's my name? What is my name? And this shift lead, she looks me dead in the eye. The shift lead who says hi to me every day just looks me in the eye and goes, honestly, I'm blanking on his name. And for that, I will be forever grateful to her for not telling this waste of oxygen my name. But really, after that, I decided I got to put in my 2 weeks. Because honestly, this job is not worth it. It is not worth it. It's just not worth it. Well, that's it for Sam's for me. I hope all of you working retail find peace and finally leave it so that you can pursue other things like making YouTube videos or, literally doing anything with your life at all that isn't working retail. Because genuinely, I've never been so depressed in my life to come into a job where you aren't appreciated, you get micromanaged, and you get yelled at by people who just for some reason fucking hate your guts and everything that you do and everything that you stand for. So, if you liked my rant on me hating on Sam's, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I put a lot of effort into the script, and, I hope you all have a good day. And Sam's, eat my as for context, it's gonna say context. Nah. It's pretty laid back. It's not really that hard. As long as you listen and do as you're told. Unfortunately, I believe this friend and went into the fuck me. That was such a good take.